Welcome everyone in the touch panel training. So this is the first session for touch panel training. So as this training is related to the touch panel device development, so before going into the details of device development, we should understand what exactly the touch panel is and how the touch panel works and what is the importance of touch panel in embedded system. So as you know nowadays, like most of the embedded devices are supporting touch panels because now touch panel is in highly demand from the user's point of view. You can take example of mobile phones. Some years back there was no touch panel support in the mobile itself, but now you cannot imagine a mobile without touch panel. And with that you can see the ATMs, machines, and then you have smartwatch, and then I think the almost all of the embedded devices nowadays are coming with the touch panel. So we need to provide the device driver. If touch panel support is there, so it means we need to provide device driver support for the touch panel as well. So it means touch panel driver play a very important role in our embedded system devices. So now how the touch panel works. So most of the time whenever you are taking an embedded device, so your touch panel will come with the display itself. What does it means? It means your display will be having an inbuilt touch panel connected to it. So if you will see the screen, in this screen you can see like multiple layers basically building your display. This is basically the LCD display layer. If you can see like among these many layers you have LCD display layer. This is your display layers. Then you have some glass layer, and then you have some non-conductive separator dots, and then you have transport conductive layers, and then you have flexible transparent surface. So it means your display is made up of different layers, and that these layers basically have some non-conductive layers and some conductive layers, and then some transparent layer. So whenever you do some tap on the touch panel or some touch on the touch panel, it generates the voltage difference, and which basically accounted as the change in the touch panel. Okay, it means your touch basically generate one event on the touch panel, and then that touch panel event basically notify to the system. So there is some touch panel event happen from the user space. So now basically we have two types of touch panel. One is resistive screens, another is the capacitive touch panels. So what is the meaning of resistive screens? Resistive screen means whenever you are tapping on the screen, so the resistance by which you are tapping on the screen, that is accounted to estimate the touch panel press or the touch which user had made. Okay, so you can see here you have a film, top layer film, and then you have insulator in between, then you have spacer dots. So spacer dots is basically you have two transparent electrode films, and between these two transparent electrode films you have spacer dot basically which maintaining the space between two these electrode films. And whenever you will press on the touch panel, so these transparent electrode field will come closer and will touch each other, and because of that it will cause circuit resistance, and this change in the circuit resistance basically notify that some touch panel event has happened on the touch panel. In the same way we have capacitive touch screen. On the capacitive touch screen basically we have capacitive material to hold an electric change, and touch screen changes the amount of charges at specific point of contact. So what will happen, like whenever you will touch the touch panel, so the area of contact or the area which is basically under touch from the user, so that will change the amount of charges at that particular point, and that change in the charges we will be considering for estimating the touch panel event or notifying the touch panel event to the system. So you can see here like we have protective layer. Okay, and then you have like that whenever user is tapping on this protective layer, an electric current gets generated because you have glass substrate and then you have transparent electrode film. So this electrode film basically generate the current, and it will basically generate the change in the voltage, and which will be counted as a touch panel event. So this is how both of these touch panel capacitive screen and touch panel resistive screens basically works. From a developer point of view, we don't need to go into the details exactly how exactly the hardware of touch panel works, because we are writing the device developer. We should know like how touch panel works. That is enough for us. So now let's understand the interfacing between our touch panel and the host machine. Okay, first understand what is the host machine. Host machine is the machine on which you are doing the device development. It You might have Linux machine, you might have Windows machine, the machine by which your device is connected. And what is the device here? Device is the embedded system board. Okay, and on that embedded system board, you will have, sorry, I made a mistake here. Host machine here is not the machine on which you are working. Host machine is the development board on which your touch panel is connected. Maybe you are using Raspberry Pi board, BeagleBone Blackboard, or another XYZ board. Okay, so we should have some touch panel connection with the host machine, and this touch panel is basically the touch panel controller. Okay, so here basically we have these interfaces between our host machine and the touch panel. The first interface is the serial interface. So now let's understand what is the use of this serial interface. So serial interface is basically used to have a transmission of data between your host machine and the touch panel. Now the question arises, what data we need to transmit between the host machine and the touch panel? So the thing is, when the user will press on the touch panel, so we will get some event, and after getting the event, what we exactly need? We need the x and y coordinate on where, on the point where user basically tap on the screen. Why we need that? Because we need to perform action accordingly depending upon the x and y coordinate. Now let's say you are using your mobile phone and you are tapping on top of your screen and you are tapping on the bottom of your screen. Depending upon the menu icons, it will take an action. Okay, so the area where you are tapping, so the menu icon which will lie there, that only will get notified and it will generate event accordingly. Okay, so it means we need to know actually what, where exactly the user has tapped on the screen and what is the x and y coordinate. So that x and y coordinate basically we need to read from the touch panel. And how we will read? We will read from the serial interface. So this serial interface can be like I2C serial interface or SPI serial interface. Okay, so we can read these x and y coordinate from this serial interface. Okay, and now question rise, how our host machine will come to know? Okay, so somebody tap on the touch panel. So basically we will have one interrupt line between our host machine and the touch panel. So whenever user will tap on this touch panel, it will generate one interrupt for your host machine, and by that your host machine will come to know, okay, so there is some event happen at the touch panel level. Okay, and there is one other pin, that is the reset pin. And what is the use of this reset pin is, so whenever host machine basically wants to start your touch panel at the time of boot up, you can say, or at the time of runtime, you can say, so you need to bring up your touch panel, or means you need to power on your touch panel. For that we need this reset pin, which will basically actually your reset your touch panel. Okay, after resetting, your touch panel will boot, or your touch panel firmware will come into the action, so that you will be able to see your touch panel is active now. Okay, and you have different modes by which you can set your touch panel. So now, and the interface can vary depending upon the architecture or the system which you are using. So how to understand this interface is, you have to go through the spec and the schematic of your devices, so that you can understand the actual interfacing your architecture have between your host machine and the touch panel. Thank you.